Mali, can you make me co-host?
Gary Prabhuji, can you do Gary Prabhuji is the host, so
Okay, Prabhuji, I think that's it.
Thank you, bro. ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So we shall be continuing from text 36 onwards. Text 36. Matam pramattam unmattam suptam balam striyam jadam prapannam viratham bhitam naripum hanti dharmavid. A person who knows the principles of religion does not kill an enemy who is careless, intoxicated, insane, asleep, afraid, or devoid of his chariot. Nor does he kill a boy, a woman, a foolish creature, or a surrendered soul. So these are some of the principles of dharma. Now, in the 6th canto of Bhagavatam, there are descriptions about how a ruler or a king, if he, actually in the 5th canto of Bhagavatam, not 6th, but 5th canto of Bhagavatam, the description is that how a king or a ruler or a government officer, if he torments and tortures the innocent living entities, then he goes to a particular hell, and suffers the hellish condition of life. So even if somebody is a very capable and powerful person, the power is meant to protect the powerless or people who are weak. It is never meant for exploitation. In the modern society, we see people who are powerful, they use their power to exploit the weak. People who are educated, they use their power of education to exploit the ignorant or people who are illiterate. People who are wealthy, they use their wealth to exploit the poor. But that's actually very much implicating. It implicates people in the adharma and causes them to suffer. Suffer in this life, suffer after this life, suffer in the hellish condition of existence. Because the person who has used, for example, his power, his strength, his physical, power to torment others, the natural consequence is the nature takes away all the strength from the person. In the next life, the person becomes a weak, subjected to exploitation and torment by the other people. No one in this world suffers without having deserved the consequence like that. If anyone is put into some distressful condition, it's mainly because the person has done some karma like that. So here we see, Ashwatthama, he killed the innocent boys in their sleeping state. Now, of course, one may think that, well, those boys also must have some karma like that. That's true. But the administrative head's duty is to make sure that even though we understand karmically that people who died at the hands of Ashwatthama, they must have some karma like that, or they were implicated in some karmic reaction like that. But that does not free Ashwatthama from the liability. He also is liable to be punished by the law of karma, by the law of state. So therefore, Krishna is first telling Arjun that he should be immediately killed, and then here in this verse he's giving justification that Ashwatthama has acted out of adharma. Naripum hanti dharma ved. A person who knows dharma, the knower of dharma, he does not kill even his enemy in these states. Mattam, pramattam, unmattam. A person who's careless, intoxicated, or insane. So these are some of the basic principles of dharma. Unfortunately, in modern times, we see even the government officers, even the politicians, or the rulers, they have become so degraded, so corrupt, that they utilize all their powers and all their wealth and everything that they possess simply for the sake of exploiting others. And more or less they're atheistic. They don't believe that there is any other life. So this life is all in all. Let me enjoy. Ranam krita kritva gatam pabe yavat jive sukhat jive. As long as I'm alive, let me just enjoy the life. Even if I have to plunder others, kill others, doesn't matter. Beg, borrow, steal, kill, but enjoy the life. So such people are definitely heading towards a very, very miserable condition of life. Hellish sufferings are awaiting such people. Maybe in this lifetime itself. If not, then definitely after this lifetime, they are, put into tremendous distress and miseries. Text 37, Krishna further says, Sapranan yah para prane prapushnati agrana khala tadvadastasya hi shreyo yaddoshadyati adha puman. A cruel and wretched person who maintains his existence at the cost of others' lives deserves to be killed for his own well-being. Otherwise, he will go down by his own actions. So, this is the consciousness generally a king or a well-wisher has. A king, when he punishes citizens for their misdeeds, or a father or mother, when they punish the child for their misbehavior, or a saintly person sometimes curses a wrongdoer, it's only with this consciousness, as Krishna is explaining here. For their own well-being, they must be stopped or punished. So when a king punishes a wrongdoer, his whole idea is, as a well-wisher, oh, this person has done such nefarious deeds. He has murdered somebody, he has killed people. So for his own well-being, he needs to be punished. The very fact that in modern times the crime rate has increased, Because there is no capable government. The administrators are completely impotent and useless people, low-class Shudras, lower than Shudras actually. And therefore, they have all kinds of confusions in their mind. For example, just take a simple example. The capital punishment is more or less eradicated from practically every country. Most of the countries in the world don't have capital punishment of death. Even if a person did murder, even if a person did, rape or killed children or, tormented people, even he was involved in some terrorism activities, still there is no death punishment. There is no severe injury punishment. Maharaj Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, in his kingdom, if somebody was caught or proved to be, having raped any woman, that person would be given such serious discipline in the public that everybody will be afraid of doing such a thing. Right now, we have this human rights and all kinds of nonsensical organizations who, object. If a criminal is punished, they object. Then how can you, mistreat a human being like this? And sometimes their argument is, that somebody was proved to be criminal, but later on it was discovered that he was not a criminal. This is again nothing but because of the impotent government. In the kingdom of Rajarishis, or the saintly kings like Yudhishthira Maharaj, or even in the case of Shivaji Maharaj, who was more recent, if somebody was proved to be giving wrong witness, and whatever consequences were there because of the wrong witness, the person would get equally severe punishment. So if somebody gave false witness that, oh, I saw this person murdering somebody, for example, and the person was punished, and later on it was discovered that this person bear the false witness, even that person would be given capital punishment of death, so that nobody dares to even do such a thing. So kings used to be very capable. In fact, Markandeya Rishi in Markandeya Purana, he says, the kings in ancient times used to be very serious and strict with what we know nowadays as news reporters. If somebody, news channel or news reporter, happened to be there in the ancient times, the king would publicly behead his head. You know why? Because most of the time we know such news channels and news reporters, they propagate false news. In fact, in England, 90% population doesn't even believe whatever comes in media. Recently, I saw somebody had posted some news from England outside the BBC, British broadcast company. Thousands of people had gathered and they were chanting slogans, shame on you, because BBC was propagating some wrong, false news. And the government has no regulation. The governments are so incapable. The person can publish wrong news and get away with it, saying, sorry, just a slight apology. But the ancient times, kings would behead such people so that nobody dares to misguide the public. Because kings used to be well-wishers, genuine well-wishers of people in general. But nowadays, the governments are incapable, and the criminal people who are actually criminal-minded in the form of big corporates or terrorists, or even some of the politicians who are actually criminals. They set the rules and laws, manipulating people in general. They come up with so many sentimental arguments to misguide people in general. So human rights, or international police, Interpol, or World Bank, all these are nothing but the tools in the hands of demoniac beings, the demons, to control, to exploit the poor people, to exploit the weak people. But kings in the past used to be very, very strict. And even if sometime a king would become corrupt, there'll be only one corrupt person, because he used to be the dictator. Like, Srila Prabhupada gives example from Srimad Bhagavatam. King Vena, he was corrupt. He was highly corrupt. But everyone in his kingdom, all the thieves and rogues in his kingdom, they were fearful. They couldn't do their activities of stealing or robbing others. So even if the king, the monarchy, there used to be the inappropriate king, there'll be only one rogue. But because the democracy has come up, there is no dictatorship, only democracy there. Everybody has become thieves and rogues. There are abundance of thieves and rogues, not one. So the dictatorship in the past used to be actually much, much more. Prabhupada actually makes a beautiful statement. He says the statement he makes. He says that even the dictators, even if the king was untrained or not properly, capable, still he would be much, much better than these democratic, leaders. Because they would have sense of ownership. The king used to have sense of ownership, that this kingdom belongs to me. I have to take care of it. So kingdoms used to be very beautiful, nicely managed. Even if there was corrupt king, still there used to be much, much better administration than modern times. So that's what is being explained here. The cruel and wretched person must be killed, because the kings used to be very compassionate. Especially Rajarishis or the trained kings, they used to be well-wishers of people in general. They used to be very strong, but at the same time, very tender-hearted, very great well-wishers of people in general. Even if the punishment was given, it was only in the mood of the well-being of the person. Text 38. Pratishrutam cha bhavata panchalyai shramato mama ahirshe shirastasya yaste manine putraha. Furthermore, I have personally heard you promise Draupadi that you would bring forth the head of the killer of her sons. So Krishna is reminding Arjun that I heard you promised Draupadi before leaving, when we were chasing this son of Brahmana, that you will bring, the head of Ashwatthama. So don't show any mercy to him. Text 39. Tad asavadhyatam papam atataya atmabandhuha bhartuscha viprayam veera kritvan kula pamasana. This man is an assassin and murderer of your own family members. Not only that, but he has also dissatisfied his master. He is but the burnt remnants of his family. Kill him immediately. Now, this is a very strong verse. Krishna is using very, very strong words here. So he says, he has killed your family members. First of all, he has killed your family members, but still, the king is not supposed to be holding personal grudge against anyone. Of course, kings are also human beings. They also have their human side. But if the family members of the king are killed for no fault of theirs, then the assassin must be punished properly. So Krishna is reminding Arjun that he has killed your family members who had actually no fault. They were sleeping children. They were not on the battlefield. If Ashwatthama would have killed them on the battlefield, it would be most appropriate. Nobody would be actually able to point a finger at Ashwatthama. But he had entered the camp when they were all sleeping and murdered them. So Krishna is reminding that. And another thing Krishna is mentioning is he has not done this to satisfy his master, because sometimes it happens that the servant does something to satisfy his master. Just like, if a messenger goes taking the message of the master to another person, to another king also. In ancient time, there used to be messengers, like Krishna went as a Shanti Dut, a messenger of peace from the side of Yudhishthira Maharaj to the court of Dhritarashtra. So the messenger sometimes had very, very strong messages. The king would tell, okay, go and give this message to them, to the, other king. And the other king would send some very strong message, and the messenger has to come and give the same message to his own master, even if it used to be some blasphemy or using some bad words for the master. He had to still tell the message as it is. Or sometimes, even if he carries a strong message from his master's side to the other person, and if the message is very strong, there's the fear that the other person may kill him. Like in the case of Hanuman, when Hanuman was brought to the court of Ravana, Hanuman gave a very strong message to Ravana. He said, Lord Ramachandra, who is the king of Ayodhya, the descendants of Maharaj Raghu, he has sent me as messenger. Please return Sita to him and go in his shelter. Otherwise, you will be destroyed along with your whole family. And Hanuman was standing in the court of Ravana. Ravana, who was actually a terror for the whole universe, not just this planet. He was terror for the whole universe, even the demigods in the upper planetary system, even the demons in the lower planetary system. They were all afraid of him. And here is Hanuman standing in his court and giving him order. Give Mother Sita back to Lord Ram. Otherwise, you and your whole family will be wiped out. You will be destroyed along with your whole dynasty. And Ravana got so angry. He wanted to kill Hanuman. But there also, again, his brother Vibhishan reminded him that it's not the appropriate dharma for the king to kill the messenger. He's a servant of his master. He's just conveying the message. Even if it appears to be insulting to you, he has been very impudent, you can punish him, but you cannot kill him. So, if sometime the servant does something to please his master, then the credit goes to the master, not to the servant. So if somebody gets very angry by the actions of the servant, then he can go and punish the master. But that was also not the case in this case of Ashwathama. Ashwathama, when he took the news to Duryodhana, Duryodhana was completely unhappy, very much dissatisfied with Ashwathama. He disapproved that, no, I didn't like this action of yours. So therefore Krishna is saying, he has not done this to even satisfy his master. So this is not the action of Duryodhana. This is purely the action of Ashwathama himself. Nobody else is to be held responsible for his action. And therefore, he is the bond remnants of his family. Krishna using the word Kula Pamasana. The burnt remnants means just like, sometimes when you cook the rice, the bottom portion at the bottom of the, pot, some rice get burned and they stick to the bottom. And generally nobody eats that. It's something that to be discarded. Nobody really eats those burned portion of the food. So Krishna is saying that he's like the burnt remnants of his family. So although the whole pot of rice, the nice rice was cooked, but that portion, although it is rice, but because it's burnt rice, it is rejected. So Krishna is telling, Arjun, although he's from Brahmana family and he's also Brahmana, but he's the burnt remnants of his family. So don't show him any mercy. because there is no quality of Brahmana left in him. Just like the rice which is burnt at the bottom, although it was rice, but it has no quality of rice left. It does not nourish the body. In fact, Ayurveda says if you take those burnt rice or the burnt food in any way, your liver will die very soon. So people who especially drink coffee, especially coffee is nothing but the burnt beans. The coffee beans are practically burned. Roasted means they're practically burned. So drinking coffee is very hard on the liver, because if you take any burnt food, it's very hard on the liver. So Ayurveda strictly recommends not to eat the burnt food. So similarly, Krishna is telling Arjuna, he's like a burnt remnants of his family. He's not to be accepted as Brahmana. Only burnt remnants of a Brahmana family. Kill him immediately. He should be immediately killed. Text 40. Sutta Uvacha Evam Parikshata Dharman Partha Krishnena Choditaham Naivad Dhantum Guru Sutam Yadyapi Atmahanam Mahan. Sutta Goswami said, although Krishna, who was examining Arjun in religion, encouraged Arjun to kill the son of Dronacharya, Arjun, a great soul, did not like the idea of killing him. Although Ashwathama was a heinous murderer of Arjun's family members. Now, here's the difference. Difference between Ashwathama and Arjun. Ashwathama had no reason to kill the sons of Draupadi. They had not done any harm to Ashwathama. So Ashwathama had killed the sons of Pandavas without any strong cause or enmity. But here Arjun, having Ashwathama in front of him, and Krishna himself is encouraging him that he should be killed immediately. He didn't like the idea of killing Ashwathama. Although Ashwathama was the murderer of his own family members, his own sons. So, especially Arjun's son was Shrutakirti, who was also killed by Ashwathama in the sleeping state. Draupadi had 5 sons, which were killed by Ashwathama, and one of them was Shrutakirti, who was the son of Arjun also. Another 4 were sons of, Yudhishthira, Bhim, Nakul, and Sahadev as well. So Ashwathama had killed the 5 sons of Draupadi and the 5 sons of the Pandavas. So therefore, Arjun had every reason to kill him. But although Krishna personally inspired him, Arjun didn't like the idea. This is the nature of a gentle devotee. Although Arjun, in an angry mood, he had spoken to Draupadi that I will bring the head of Ashwathama, I'll kill him and bring his head for you. But when he confronted Ashwathama, he didn't like the idea of killing him. Even though, he's a Kshatriya and he's bound by his word, whatever promise he has given, we'll see how he fulfills his promise also. So text 41. Athopetya swashibiram Govinda priya sarathi Nyavedayat tam priyayam shochantaya atmajan hatan. After reaching his own camp, Arjun, along with his dear friend and charioteer Sri Krishna, entrusted the murderer into his dear wife, who was lamenting for her murdered sons. So although Arjun was inspired by Krishna, he didn't kill, but he brought Ashwathama to Draupadi and let her decide what should be done to Ashwatthama. It's actually very wonderful. Not only Arjun's glory is being, depicted in this whole pastime, but even the beautiful nature of Draupadi is being also highlighted. So Krishna inspired Arjun to bring Ashwatthama to Draupadi so that the Draupadi's character also would be very much highlighted. So let's see what did Draupadi say. Text 42. Tatha hitam pashuvat pashabandham avan mukham karma jugupsitena nirikshaya krishna pakritam guru sutam vama svabhava kripaya nanam cha nanam cha. Sri Shuddha Goswami said, Draupadi then saw Ashwatthama, who was bound with the ropes like an animal and silent for having enacted the most inglorious murder. Due to her female nature and due to her being naturally good and well behaved, she showed him due respects as a Brahmana. So here we see actually two very beautiful principles to be highlighted from this verse. Krishna had personally condemned Ashwatthama and he told Arjun that he should be killed immediately. And we will see that even Bhimsena would say the same thing to Arjun, that he should be killing Ashwatthama immediately. Yet we see Draupadi is showing the respects to Ashwatthama. Not only she is not angry that this person, he has killed my 5 sons in the sleeping state, he should be killed immediately. She's not only not angry, but she's respectful to Ashwatthama as well. So this shows the gentle nature of the female. Ladies generally are very gentle by nature. Of course, in the modern times, because of the broken families and because of the not being cared and very much exploited, the women also sometimes become very hard-hearted. But women by nature are actually very soft-hearted. And here, Draupadi's soft-hearted nature is being, shown, shining brilliantly, that although Ashwatthama is the murderer of her sons, yet she is showing him respect. Because she was, well behaved and naturally a saintly lady by nature. Being the devotee of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, she was saintly in conduct and she was well behaved. But one more principle that to be noted in this particular incident is, because she was showing respect to Ashwatthama as a Brahmana, though he was not really a Brahmana now, he was a Brahma Bandhu. So because of this particular instance, it is said that women are generally not to be included in administration. Especially for the administration purpose, the woman should not be taking charge of administration of the country or state or any place. Because they are soft in nature and sometimes they may overlook a culprit who needs to be punished in a severe way. So generally, when it comes to, being the jury, giving the punishment, it's not advisable that women take that role. Of course, in current state in the street, if we speak, then people will say, you are racist. But it is psychologically, understood that women are actually soft-hearted. They generally try to deal, even with hardcore criminals, they will deal, perhaps in a very gentle way. They will have a leaning towards a gentle way. And therefore, sometimes they may not be, good when it comes to delivering the justice. And again, as I said, because of the structure of the society, especially the woman being exploited and neglected, it could change. But in general, this is the rule. The women are generally soft-hearted at heart, and they are not to take some serious role in the administration like this, where there is some, somebody who has to deal with the situation in a very strong way. Text 43. Uvacha cha sahantyasya bandhanananya sati mucchatam esha brahmano nitaram guru. She could not tolerate Ashwatthama being bound by ropes. And being a devoted lady, she said, release him, for he is the Brahmana, our spiritual master. Mucchatam. Please release him, she's saying. And for he is the Brahmana, our spiritual master. So, there is, principle. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also explains the principle in Harinam Chintamani. If the Guru deviates from the principles of Krishna consciousness, then he should be rejected. So Brahmanas are generally considered Guru or the spiritual masters for the whole society. But if the Guru or the Brahmana deviates from the principles of Dharma, then he should be rejected. He should not be accepted as such, as Guru or a Brahmana. The term used for such Brahmanas especially is Brahma Bandhu, the relatives of Brahmana. Not to be treated as Brahmana, they are to be treated as relatives of Brahmana. So it is very appropriate. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, when the Guru becomes bad, the disciple should reject him. And if the disciple becomes bad, then the Guru must reject him. Otherwise, they both will go to hell. If the Guru becomes bad and the disciple is still good, he doesn't want to leave the Guru still, although the Guru has become bad. Then the Guru will go to hellish condition of life and he'll take disciple also with him. Better one than two. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, it's better that one rejects, either if Guru or disciple becomes bad, they should reject him. The Guru should reject the bad disciple and the disciple should reject the bad Guru. Of course, Guru is not ideally supposed to become bad, but in the modern times, especially, because of so many temptations, sometimes the Guru may become bad. So, must be rejected. But because Draupadi, she's a woman, being soft-hearted woman, she still treats him as a spiritual master. One time there was a fire in the army building. So, people who were trapped on the top floor, in the middle floor there was a fire, in the top floor people, they couldn't escape. They were stuck there. So the soldiers, they brought the net and they spread the net and they were holding the net from all the sides. And they're telling people to jump from the top. So people were jumping and then they saw the brigadier, the top rank officer. He was also trapped up. He jumped. And it was a rule that whenever they see the brigadier, they had to salute him. So they all left the net and saluted him. He's falling from the sky. You can imagine what happens to the brigadier. So, when a person may be on the top rank, if he's fallen, the duty is to catch him, not to salute him. So, especially in this case, like Ashwatthama, he has fallen from his position, as a Brahmana. So, what is required is to catch him from being falling down, not to show him respect, but to protect him by punishing him. So he should be punished or his own protection. So whenever a person, even if he had happened to be very superior than us, if he's fallen, he doesn't deserve to be respected. He's to be protected. So, but here we see, because Draupadi's gentle nature, she's telling, please release him. Please release him. It's not appropriate that he's bound in this way, with the ropes. So I think we'll stop here and we'll continue the discussion from text 44 onwards next week. If anyone